So this is an interesting case. Here, you're getting hana from chatas money and from chatas asham. So the Gemara says, and from asham money, excuse me. So ad shelo kirva chataso. So we'll say, if we're talking about a case where I got hana from the money and I have not yet offered up the chatas, then Yosef viyavi chataso. Then it's simple. You take the Meilah money, you add it onto the chatas money, and you simply bring a more expensive chatas. However, v'achal karv asham Yosef viyavi ashamo. And halacha l'maaseh again, if you haven't yet brought your asham and you committed Meilah, so you go ahead and you add your money onto the asham money. So I'll say, so here's a case. I'm committing Meilah with the funds for the carbon. So the Gemara says, no problem. If you haven't yet brought the carbon, then just go ahead and add on the Meilah money to the pot of money you already have and bring a nicer carbon. That's easy. On the other hand, Kvar kirva chataso. What happens if you already brought your chatas? So I did Meilah with the money. And what? I then bring the chatas, and then whatever the situation is, I didn't realize I did Meilah. Afterwards, I realized I did Meilah, but the carbon has already been brought. I take the Meilah money and I throw it into the Yamamelach. Right? I throw it into Yamamelach because we'll say again, this will be the chatas with which I committed Meilah. Throw money into Yamamelach. Kvar kirva ashamo. Similarly, again, if you went ahead and you already offered up the asham, yiplu linedava. Ultimately, again, the Meilah monies should be spent on a nedava, carbon nedava, which for our purposes are karbanos sibor. Hanana mikache kachim lifnei zvikas damim. If one gets hana from actual karbanos before zvikas done, kachim kache kadoshim before zvika, or a muri kachim kalim la'achar zvika, or the limbs of kachim kalim after zvika where they're still subject to Meilah, what's the halacha? Mashenene yiplu linedava. Your Meilah money should be used for nedava karbanos sibor. Kol karbanos hamizbeach la mizbeach. So we'll say then the Bryce ends off with a klal. All karbanos hamizbeach la mizbeach, which means that if you were mal with kache kadoshim, your money goes towards kache kadoshim. Karbanos kache bedek habayis. If you were mal in kache bedek habayis, you use your money for kache bedek habayis. Karbanos sibor, then a double sibor. And if ultimately again you did Meilah with karbanos sibor, your money goes to karbanos sibor. So we'll say on the first basic level, halacha l'maaseh, this price of paskins like Rav, namely that when you do Meilah with kache kadoshim, ultimately again, what is the halacha? The money is used for karbanos sibor. That's linedava, karbanos sibor. So ultimately, that's the first point that the Brisa makes. The Gemara then goes in and adds on something else. Hagufa kasha. The problem is the Brisa represents an inherent inconsistency. How so? Ad shelo karva chataso, Yosef viavi chataso, mishikerva chataso, yelchu liyamamelach. So we'll say, remember again, the first part of the Brisa made a distinction. The first case in the Brisa is a situation where I was committing Meilah with money, right? I had money set aside for kache kadoshim, let's say for chatos, kache kadoshim, for chatos, and I committed Meilah with the money. So now remember, the Bryce made the following distinction. So whatever it is, I took chatas money, and I used it to purchase a watch, okay? So now we'll say, what happens? So the Bryce has said, if I discovered my mistake before I offered up the chatas, no problem. What do you do? Add on your Meilah money into your chatas pot and just bring a nicer chatas. If you already offered up your chatas, then what do you do with the Meilah money? Yelchul liyamamelach. You have to throw it into the Yamamelach. So the Gemara says we have an inherent contradiction. On one hand, the Brisa said, Ad shelo kerva chatas Yosef yavi chatasim. So we'll say on one hand, you said if you discovered your Meilah before you purchased the chatas, add on your Meilah funds to the chatas. Mishikerva chataso. But at the end of the day, the Brisa said that if you offered up your chatas, yelchul Yamamelach, then ultimately what? Throw the monies into Yamamelach. But yet then you said, Vekatani, kol karbanos hamizbeach la mizbeach. Then you said what? Anytime you commit Meilah with kache kadoshim, the monies are used to purchase kache kadoshim, which indicates to us that again, that the monies would not be thrown into the Yamamelach. So we'll say, so which one is it? So we'll say, Veloshna de ichbar bailim, Veloshna de lo ichbar. So we'll say, so here's the fundamental shayla. The Bryce is contradictory. On one hand, you said that if you went in and you did Meilah with chatas money, and then what? If it's before you offered up the chatas, no problem. I mean, it's a problem, but add on the Meilah money to the chatas pot and just bring a nicer chatas. And then subsequently you said that halacha l'maisa, if I did Meilah with chatas money, subsequently bought the chatas, offered the chatas, you have to throw the money into Yam HaMelach. And then you said, any time that you commit Meilah with Kodshe Kadoshim, the Meilah money goes towards Kodshe Kadoshim. So what's going on over here? To which the Gemara says it's not a contradiction. Reisha Rabbi Shimon Damar Kol Chata Shekibru Ba'aleh Tamus. So I'll say ultimately again, the Reisha is Rabbi Shimon. And Rabbi Shimon is one who's of the opinion that halacha l'maisa, if you have a leftover chatos, namely that the owner already atoned for his sin with a different chatos, and you have a leftover chatos, what do you do with the leftover chatos? You let it die. Therefore, again, Rabbi Shimon would say that if you committed Meilah with chatas money, subsequently offered up the chatas money, and now you have the Meilah money, what do you do with the Meilah money? Throw it into Yam HaMelach. The Seifa, however, again, the Seifa, where it says wherever you do Meilah with Kodshe Kadoshim, you go ahead and you dedicate that money towards Kodshe Kadoshim, that's the Rabbanon. That's ultimately, again, the position of the Rabbanon, who disagree with Rabbi Shimon. Amar Rav Gavia de Bekisil, the Rav Ashi Hakim Rabbaye, Reisha Rabbi Shimon, the Seif Rabbanon. So we'll say ultimately again, the Reisha and the Seif of the Brisa reflect two different opinions. Rabbi Shimon's opinion in general, this is not Rabbi Shimon in Meilah, this is actually Rabbi Shimon in Chatos. Rabbi Shimon by Chatos says that anytime the owner atoned already for their Chatos, and there's a leftover Chatos, that leftover Chatos is left to die. So being left to die by an animal, the equivalent of that by money is what? Throw it into Yam HaMelach. The Rabbanon, on the other hand, disagree with that concept. Rather, again, the Rabbanon would say that halacha l'maisa, the monies could be used to purchase other Kodshe Kadoshim. Beautiful. Amar Rava. Rava says, Hakol Modim, everyone agrees. Shimne mi basar Kodshe Kadoshim shenitma. So we'll say an interesting case. What happens if a person gets hana from the meat of Kodshe Kadoshim that became tameh? Now, whether they became tameh after Zrika, before Zrika, now this really ideally has to be before Zrika, because after Zrika, remember again, there's no Meilah anymore by Kodshe Kadoshim. But again, leaving that aside for just a moment, you go ahead and you get hana from the meat of Kodshe Kadoshim, which became tameh. Okay, so what's the halacha? Or me'imuri Kodshim Kalim la'achar shehe'elan, or I will say for that matter, from Kodshim Kalim, after they have been placed on the Mizbeach, once the fire has taken hold of them, even though they have not yet been reduced to ash. So what's the halacha? Pater. Ultimately, again, one is pater. We'll say pater from what? Pater from Meilah. Pater from Meilah. So if you go ahead and you get hana from Kodshe Kadoshim that are tameh, or you get hana from Kodshim Kalim where the emurim, the sacrificial limbs, have already been placed on the Mizbeach and the fire has taken hold of them, even though they're not yet dust, ultimately, what's your pater? To which the Gemara says, Pshita. That's obvious. Now, why is it obvious to the Gemara? My kamaf sidlu. So it's actually very interesting. So what the Gemara says is like this. At the end of the day, the concept of Meilah is that you've taken something from the Beis HaMikdash that belongs to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that is fit for quote-unquote benefit for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and you're using it for yourself. In this case, that concept doesn't apply. Why? Because it's tameh. By Kodshe Kadoshim, the item is tameh. If the item is tameh, then we'll say, what are you doing with it? Pretty much nothing, right? You'll burn it, you'll bury it, depending on what type of carbon it is. But lamaisa, if I go ahead and I use Kodshe Kadoshim that are tameh, I'm not depriving the Beis HaMikdash or HaKadosh Baruch Hu of anything. Therefore, it makes sense that it is not subject to Meilah. What about by Kodshim Kalim? So Rashi says over here, by Kodshim Kalim, I've already fulfilled the mitzvah. What's the mitzvah with the imurin of Kodshim Kalim? What's the mitzvah? To put them on the Mizbeach. Once I've put them on the Mizbeach, even if they haven't yet turned to ash, if I go ahead and I get hana from it, Again, I'm not taking anything from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because at the end of the day, the mitzvah has already been done. To which the Gemara says, you're right, but we had to say it anyway. What would you have thought? Basar kadshe kadashim shenitma isle mitzvahs sreifa lekohanim. See, here's the difference. The difference is by kadshe kadashim, even if they've become tamei, there is a mitzvah for the kohanim to burn it. I might have thought that since it's still subject to a burning obligation, therefore what? It is still subject to Meilah. Similarly, a mori kachim kalim, ika mitzvah lahafuche betzinura. Was actually very interesting. For a mori kachim kalim, from the limbs of kachim kalim, even once you place them on the mizbeach, there's a mitzvah to what? To turn it over with the fork. They had like a fork, right? A fork. To go ahead and turn over the sacrificial limbs. That's a mitzvah to do that. That is in order to hasten the consumption, the burning. So I might have thought that since there is a mitzvah for kohanim to burn, kachim kadashim, that I become tamei, and to turn over a murim of kachim kalim, that even after it became tamei, halacha lemaisa, it's still subject to Meilah, kamash malan delo. Kamash malan say that at the end of the day, one is only chayiv in Meilah when one is quote unquote depriving the Beis Hamikdash of something. But if the Beis Hamikdash is already quote unquote deprived, like in the case of kadshe kadashim that became tamei, where it's not really fit for anything, or kachim kalim, which have already been placed on the mizbeach, you've already done the mitzvah. So if I were to take it down and then to eat it or something, at the end of the day, that's aser, but it's not Meilah because I'm not depriving the Beis Hamikdash of something because it already got what it needed. So Amarava, Hada Amrit Kvar Kirva Chatas Yelchu Liyamamelach. So we'll say, let's analyze what we said before. So the Gemara says as follows. We said before that halacha lemaisa, if you commit Meilah with chatas money. So we'll say, just to illustrate, I have $500 set aside for a chatas. I go ahead and I use $500 to buy myself a suit. Good. That's some suit. Mamish. Go to hat boxes. So I'll say, so I go ahead and I buy myself a suit. So what happens? So now we'll say, what's the halach? What did the Brisa say? I now have to pay Meilah. What do I do with the Meilah money? So if halacha l'maisa, it's before I offer the chatas, what do? Add on the Meilah money to the chatas pot and buy a nicer chatas. If I've already gone ahead and offered up the chatas, what do I do with the Meilah money? Yelchu liyamamelach. I throw it into the sea. Says the Gemara, just to qualify this, Hani mili the isyadale kame kapara. We'll say this is assuming that you knew about this prior to kapara, right? Prior to atonement. Avala achar kapara, but if at the end of the day you only found out about this after kapara, yiplu linedava. Ultimately, again, the monies can be used for nedava, for karbanos sibor. So I'll say, so why this distinction? So again, when do we say that it goes tziyam melach? That's when I knew about it before kapara. But if I only found out about it after kapara, then what? Halacha l'maisa, I can use it for karbanos sibor. What's the reason for that? My taima mafrishin metchila liibud. But I'll say the reason for that is because we never proactively go ahead and separate something to be destroyed. If you look at Rashi says over here, aval nodlo shama ala achar kapara la achar shekirva chataso hani karen v'chomish hifrish achshav eno mevi mehen shun chataso shekvar kipru habaylim ve'im yelchu liyamamelach havyan liibud elo yiplu linedava they mafrishin tchila liibud. So we'll say halacha l'maisa. What the Gemara suggests is as follows: we never go ahead and actively separate something to be destroyed, to be proactive. Meaning, the fact that sometimes sacrificial items are destroyed is a result of a series of different events. But to designate something mitchila to be destroyed, that we don't do. So therefore, in a case halacha l'maisa, where let's say you found out about your transgression after the chatas has been offered, we say to say that ultimately, again, that's yelchu liyamamelach, halacha l'maisa, that doesn't make sense, because then you'd be proactively separating something for destruction. He just says, the Gemara just says, in sacrificial law, in halacha, we don't do that. So therefore, the Gemara makes the following distinction. When do we say yiplu liyamamelach? That's only if you found out about your transgression prior to kapara. technically speaking, those monies are fit, ultimately, again, to go towards the chatos. But if for some reason you didn't put them towards the chatos, then you could throw them in Yam HaMelech. But if you only found out about your transgression after kapara, then what? Then halacha l'maisa, it goes to nedava. Good, says the Mishnah. We'll say going back to hakometz. So we'll say we're going now through. Remember, we started this in the last Mishnah. We're going through all the different types of karbanos and offerings, and discussing when they're subject to Meilah as well as other prohibitions. Hakometz. So let's remember again, the kometz, the kemitza, is the part of the mincha that the kohen goes out and separates out the 3 fingers worth of flour. Halavona, vaktores, uminchas kohanim. So we'll say so. That's the kometz. Lavona is the frankincense. Remember again, the lavona is placed on top of the mincha. Kitores is kitores. Minchas kohanim. So Rashi says over here, minchas kohanim. We'll say, remember again, there's 2 minchas. There's a minchas kohen gadol, which we call chavite kohen gadol. Kohen gadol brought them every day, and there's still a minchas kohen. But remember again, what's there in a minchas kohen and a regular mincha? It's the same type of carbon. The difference is when a Yisrael brings a carbon mincha, it is only the kemitza that is burned, and the rest of the carbon is consumed by the kohanim. When a kohen brings a mincha, what's the halacha? The entire carbon is consumed. That's minchas kohanim. O minchas kohen mashiach, right? The mincha of the anointed kohen. O minchas nisachim. Molin bohen mishuk t'shar. But in all of these cases, halacha l'maisa, they become subject to Meilah as soon as they are consecrated verbally. Rashi says, Kedushas peh ba'alma. Kedushas peh ba'alma. And I will say, and I just want to point out, the common denominator amongst all of these items mentioned is that they are totally consumed on the Mizbeach. In these cases over here, there's no shrine. Now remember, even though kometz, the rest of the mincha is permitted, but the kometz itself has no shirayim, right? The kometz itself is totally burned to the Mizbeach. So the Gemara says, Kitchen Bekli, once you put them into a Kli Sharis, then what is the halacha? Hochshar li pasal. Ultimately, again, they are fit to be made invalid. B'tvul yom, mechus kippurim, ubelina. So we'll say, remember again, once you put them in a Kli Sharis, they become receptive to tumah, right? From contact with the tvul yom, mechus kippurim, lina, v'chayavin alav mishum nosar, umishum tamei, upigol einba. And we'll say ultimately again they will be subject to nosar, tame, but they are not subject to pigol. Rashi says de'in lahed matirin. We're going to see this in the Gemara that in order for something to become subject to pigol, it has to have what's called the matir. I'm going to explain that in just a moment. Zakla, but say here's the principle. This is the important principle. Kol sheyesh lo matirin, ein chayavin alav mishum pigol v'nosar v'tamei. So we'll say anything that has a matir. Then we'll say, now what's a matir? A matir is a part of the sacrificial process that allows something to become fit. The paradigmatic example of this is zrika. Right? Zrika is the easiest example. Zrika is a matir. Because what does zrika do? Right? You go ahead and before you do zrika, the whole carbon is subject to Meilah, right? Or the whole carbon has a certain status. You do zrika, suddenly what? The meat becomes permitted to kohanim. That's called the matir. So the Gemara says, Kol sheyesh lo matir, anything that has a matir, a permitter in its sacrificial process, ein chayav alav mishum pigol v'nosar v'tamei, ad sheyikrevu matirin. You only become chayiv for pigol, nosar, and tamei once the matir has been offered up. V'chol she'ein lo matirin, but we'll say anything that doesn't have a matir, kevan shekitchu bekli, chayav alav mishum nosar v'tamei upigol ein ba. But we'll say something does not have a matir, then ultimately again, it can become, once you consecrate it in a kli sharis, you're chayiv because of nosar and tamei, but you will not be chayiv because of pigol. Right? We'll say at the end of the day, the concept of pigol only applies to something that has a matir. Good. Says the Gemara, Amud Beis. Gemara, minahani mili. I will say, from where do we know this? Now, what the Gemara is asking here is as follows. Look at Rashi, top Rashi. The nose, left-hand side. The nose v'tamei chayavin alein bein b'davar sheyish lo matirin. Bein b'davar sheyish lo matirin. So we'll say, so now, here's what's interesting. Apparently, the only distinction between something that has a matir and something that doesn't have a matir is a pigol. Is pigol. Right? Otherwise, nosar and tamei apply to everything, whether it has a matir or doesn't have a matir. So, minahani mili. From where do I know that? So Tan Rabban, because the pasuk says, because the Gemara says, Yachal in chayav mishum tuma, ela b'davar sheish lo matirin. I might have thought that halacha l'maisa, I am only chayiv for tuma, for something that has matirin, right? So we'll say, so vidinhu, and I could have made a kal v'chomer. What's the kal v'chomer? Uma pigul shehu b'yedia achos. Let's see something. Uma pigul shehu b'yedia achos v'karbano kavua v'lo hoter michlalo ein chayovin. So we'll say, okay, let's take this apart. When it comes to pigul, so this is actually very interesting. So pigul is unique in that what? Number one, shehu b'yedia achos. Now we'll say, the Gemara is pointing out over here the interesting chumras of pigul. Pigul is chayiv. When it comes to pigul, shehu b'yedia achos. We'll say, look at Rashi. Yedia achos means one moment of awareness. Look at Rashi. B'yedia achos kishenodalo sha'achol pigul she'no tzarech shtei yedias ketumas mikdash v'kadashav. Betumas mikdash v'kadashav ba'inan shtei yedios. Yedia b'tchila v'yedia b'sof v'he'elam ben saim. Suppose listen to this interesting halacha. When it comes, for example, to tumas mikdash v'kadashav, right? Other issues of sacrificial law. So generally, you need two moments of awareness. You need to have an awareness. For example, let's just use tumas v'kadashav. We'll say, I enter into the Beis Hamikdash tamei, accidentally. In order to be chayiv, the way it has to work is as follows. I must have had an awareness that I was tamei, forgot about it, and then realized I was tamei after I entered into the Beis Hamikdash. Shtei yedios. Interestingly enough, pigul is only chayiv b'yedia achos, right? Ultimately, again, pigul, I will say, I'm chayiv, even if I didn't know at some point in time before I consumed the pigul. Ultimately, again, that I made the object pigul, even if I just had an awareness after the fact, that's enough to make me chayiv. So pigul is unique. Again, we're pointing out why pigul is very chomer. So number one, it only needs one yedia as opposed to yedia, as opposed to shtei yedios. Number two, vikarbano kavua. Right? They both say the halacha is if you consume pigul, you bring a chatos, and that is a set carbon, it doesn't change. V'lo huter michlalo. And I will say there is no permitted case of pigul. There's no permitted case of pigul. We're going to see, as opposed to other situations where there are certain exceptions to the rule, there is no pigul exception. Yet, ein chayavin ela al davar sheish lo matirin. Right? Therefore, I will say, yet what? Yet the halacha is that pigul only applies in what type of scenario? In a davar sheish lo matirin. Pigul only applies, I will say, to a sacrificial service where there is a permitter, where there is a matir. If there's no matir, then ultimately, again, there is no din of pigul. So, for example, ketores cannot become pigul. Minchas kohen cannot become pigul. Why? Because there is no matir. So, pigul itself, which is so chomer in all these different ways, yet it only applies in a davar sheyesh lo matirin tumah. When it comes to the halachos of tumah, number one, shehi b'shtei yedios. So, also remember again, as we just said before, tumah requires two yedios, right? You need a yediyah betchila, yediyah besof, v'he'elam ben saim, which means I have to have known that I became tamei. I forgot about it, and then I remembered it subsequently. V'karbana olav yored. And I will say, when it comes to tumah, what's talacha? The carbon is a carbon olav yored, which I will say means what? A sliding scale carbon, depending on your financial status. And v'hotra michlala. And I will say there is a case where tumah is permitted. Where is tumah permitted? As Rashi points out, halacha l'maisa kigon pesach haba betuma. So we'll say ultimately tumah b'tzibor. The concept that if for certain karbanos tzibor, if you have 51% of the klal that is tamei, the laws of tumah are suspended. Eino din shelo yechayev ela al davar sheish lo matirin. So we'll say, see, understand the argument over here? If pigul, which is so chomer, yet it only applies in situations of a davar sheish, in a carbon sheish, davar sheish lo matirin, tumah, which is relatively kal compared to pigul. In that, again, it needs two yediyas, right? Number two, the carbon is a sliding scale carbon. Number three, it's hutra b'tzibor. I would have thought that certainly it only applies ultimately again to our carbon to a davar sheish lo matirin. Tamad lomar emor lahem l'dorosechem Kol ish asher yikrav mikol zarachem. Supposed to the end of that pasuk is Kol ish asher yikrav mikol zarachem ela kadoshim asher yakdishu b'nei Yisrael Hashem v'tumaso alav v'nichra sanefesh hay. So the Torah uses an all-encompassing lashon of b'chol hakodshim hakosav medaber. The Torah ultimately again uses lashon of ela kadoshim, which means that the laws of Tumah apply to all consecrated and sacrificial items. Yachol yu chayavan alein miyad. So I might have thought that halacha l'maisa, I should therefore be chayiv for Tumah immediately. Rashi says over here, Yachol yu chayavan alein mishum Tumah miyad, kodem sheyikrevu matirin. Right, v'osan shein la'matirin yu chayavan alein mishum Tumah la'alter kodem shenitnu b'chi. So I might have thought. So therefore, you're about to say. So therefore, the Torah says it's a pasuk. It's a pasuk that the laws of Tumah apply ultimately to what? To all forms of karbanos. That's the halacha. All forms of karbanos are subject to Tumah. So the Gemara says again, Yachol yu chayavan alein miyad. So therefore, you might have thought that therefore halacha l'maisa, maybe a karban should become subject to the issues of Tumah immediately. They're both saying, now what does immediately means? Immediately means in a davar sheish lo matirin, maybe even before the matirin was offered, and in a davar she'ein lo matirin, as soon as it was consecrated in a kli. Talmud lomar, asher yikrav. Therefore, I will say the pasuk says, now here's what's interesting. So the way the Gemara is reading this right now, asher yikrav means comes close. They're both saying, now, on a bepashtus, what that sounds like over here is that sheyikra means you come close and you touch it. Amar Rabbi Lazar, v'chi yesh nogeh shu chayiv. I don't understand. Is there going to be someone who's chayiv kares because they touch a sacrificial item in a state of tumah? So what does asher yikrav come close mean? Ha ketzad. So the Gemara says, v'chi yesh nogeh shu chayiv. Is there ever a case ultimately again of someone who touches something prohibited and ultimately again will be chayiv kares because of that? Ha ketzad. So therefore, we'll say the Gemara says, how do you understand the situation? Kol davar sheyesh lo matirin eino chayiv ad sheyikrevu matirin. Rabbi Osai comes to teach us the following: any item, any karban that has matirin, that ultimately again has a permitter, what is the halacha? Eino chayiv ad sheyikrevu matirin. You are only chayiv ultimately again, this is for tumah. You only chayiv ultimately, meaning the karban itself only becomes subject to the prohibitions of tumah once the matirin are offered. V'chol davar she'ein lo matirin eino chayiv ad sheyikdeshu b'kli. And ultimately again, any item that does not have matirin only becomes subject to tumah when it becomes hukdush b'kli. Rashi says over here, ha ketzad kol davar sheyesh lo matirin v'no sas. So I'm sorry. So I'll say. So go back just one moment. One Rashi. V'amar Rabbi Lazar v'chi yesh nogeh shu chayiv kares im kein lama nemar asher yikrav. The mashma negia ba'alma. So we'll say the Gemara's problem over here is the lashon of asher yikrav, which is the pasuk that is teaching us that tumah applies to all sacrificial items. Sounds like what it's saying is yikrav means you're coming close to touch it. So it sounds like the chiyuv kares ultimately again is on touching sacrificial items. That of course does not make any sense. So therefore the Rashi says lo mashma negia alahachi mashma deno chayiv alav mishum tumah at sheyachshir likarev. So I'll say a little bit of a play on words. Remember, so the word itself is emor alemu darosechem kol ish asher yikrav mikol zarachem ala kadashim asher yakdishu b'nei Yisrael Hashem v'tumaso alav. So the lashon of the pasuk is any person who comes close. But the Gemara ultimately understands that it does not mean coming close. Rather, what does yikrav mean? Yikrav means yakriv. Yakriv, as soon as it is fit to be offered, then it becomes subject to tumah. At what point in time does a karban become fit to be offered? To which the Gemara answers, what? It depends. What does it depend on? What does it depend on? If it has a matir or not. If it has a matir, if it has a permitter, then when is it fit to be offered? Once the matir is offered, and therefore that's when it becomes subject to tumah. If it doesn't have a matir, it doesn't have a permitter, then when is it fit to be offered? Ultimately, again, after it's consecrated in a kli. So therefore, Rabbi say, halacha l'maisa, what the Mishnah really gives us is a very important klal. First of all, the din of tumah applies to all karbanos. That's number one. Din of tumah applies to all karbanos. When does the carbon become subject to the din of tumah? Again, it depends. One more time. If it's a davar sheyesh lo matirin, if it's something that has a permitter, then once the permitter is done, for example, zrika, right? If it's a davar she'ein lo matirin, it doesn't have a matir, then what? Then as soon as it is hukdash b'kli, sanctified in a kli, it becomes subject to tumah. Pigul only applies where? Pigul will only apply halacha lamaisa in a situation where there is a matir, right? In a carbon where there is no matir, and that's the impact really of this particular mishnah. Wherever there is no matir, ultimately again one will not be chayiv for pigul. Only when there is a matir, ultimately again is the carbon subject to pigul. That's the klal. Ultimately again that the Mishnah espouses at its end. Hadrun alach chatos ha'ov. We'll say shkoyach. I'm going to use the last few minutes to share with you a vart on the parsha. So we'll say in this last Shabbos of the year, we have the great zchus to read Parshas Nitzavim, and Parshas Nitzavim again filled with so many incredible messages of tshuva, v'shavta ad Hashem Elokecha, so many incredible messages that in and of themselves are so beautiful and so apropos all year, certainly in the last Shabbos of the year prior to Rosh Hashanah. But I want to share with you really an incredible idea. The pasuk says, this is in Parak Chav Tes, pasuk Chav Ches. The pasuk says, probably one of the most well-known psukim in the whole parasha, Hanistaros la'Hashem Elokeinu, v'haniglos lanu ulevanenu ad olam, la'asos es kol divrei haTorah hazos. Literally, that which is hidden is to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that which is revealed is for us and for our children for all eternity to perform the mitzvos of this Torah. So on the most basic level, so the Torah is telling us that there are many things you're not going to understand in the world. Many things. You look through life, there are certain things I don't understand, and that's okay. It's okay not to understand. One shouldn't presuppose that I'm supposed to understand or entitled to understand, because why? There are certain things that are nistar, there are certain things that are hidden, and those belong to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The niglos, my job in this world is what? To operate in the dimension of the revealed. My job is to go out and do good and to try to affect change and to try to lift up the world on the level of nigla and the level of revealed. It's not my job to try to figure out how God runs His world and why HaKadosh Baruch Hu does the things that He does. That's v'hanistaros. Rashi, HaKadosh understands it on a contextual level. That remember again in the psukim that immediately precede this. So the psukim are talking about collective responsibility, right? That if another Jew does something wrong, I'm responsible. So Rashi says, well, lest you think that, one second, what if Ruvain is sinning in his heart? He's having machshavas of avodah zara. I'm going to be responsible for that? Chosh Baruch says, don't worry, calm down, right? Hanisaros Hashem Elokeinu. Whatever happens in someone else's heart, that you're not responsible for. But we are responsible, I will say, for one another on the nigla level. So on the nistar level, on the hidden level, there is no mutual responsibility. There's no arvus. But on the nigla level, on the apparent level, there is absolutely mutual responsibility, both spiritually as well as materially. But the Katzker says something absolutely amazing. Get ready for this. The Katzker says, these are his words. The Katzker's derech. The Katzker was very terse, very terse. People think the Katzker was sharp. He was sharp, but you see an incredible warmth in his words. Look what he says. Ha'olam sover shetzadik nister huzeh shemastir es tzidkasa umaasav hatovim b'nei akal. People think that a hidden tzaddik is someone who is a tzaddik, but he hides his tzidkus from everyone. Right? He hides his tzidkus. Right? So he knows he's a tzaddik, but again, he goes out of his way to obscure and to hide his tzidkus. It's a form of humility. I know who I am or what I am, but I don't need to show everyone else. Says the Katzker. Ha'emes. The real truth is, you want to know what a tzaddik nister is? Shenister huzeh. Listen to these words. Shetzidkaso nisteres v'ne'elemes gam me'atzmo. Someone who is a tzaddik nister is someone whose righteousness and greatness is not just hidden from the outside world, but it's hidden from himself. She'im lo kol machshava v'chol musag shu tzaddik. He doesn't even know that he's a tzaddik. He doesn't even think of himself as a tzaddik. The Welt thinks that a tzaddik nistar is someone who knows that he's a tzaddik, but he hides it from the outside world. Says the Katzker, I think a tzaddik nistar is someone who doesn't even know that he's a tzaddik. It's hidden from himself. And I will say, I think that what the Katzker is trying to teach us is something so incredibly amazing. Who is the Katzker referring to? Who is the Katzker referring to? I will say, he's referring to all of us. Because at the end of the day, each of us is a tzaddik nistar. Inside each of us is a tzaddik that is yearning to come out. Inside each of us is someone so ridiculously righteous that wants to burst forth. Inside each of us is someone so holy, so special, so spiritually luminescent, someone who could accomplish such incredible things, someone who could soar to such incredible spiritual heights, someone who could be a mashpia on a mishpacha, someone who could raise inspired children, someone who could inspire a household, someone who could impact change in a community, someone who could bring light to the entire world. Inside each of us, that person exists, but we often don't know him. We often don't recognize him. And when someone tells us that that person exists inside of us, we say to ourselves, or we actively articulate it, no, wrong address. You must be talking to him. Right? That's not me. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, there's a tzaddik nistar. There is a hidden tzaddik inside each of us that is waiting to come out. Says the Katzker, that's the taich in the pasuk. Hanistaros laHashem Elokeinu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows who I really am on the inside. He knows the tzaddik nistar. He knows the hidden righteous person. The tzaddik, I will say. See, we often think about the fact that we each have a lot of good inside of us. That's true. That's absolutely true. The Katzker is saying something more. There's a tzaddik inside of us. There is a tzaddik nistar. There is a hidden tzaddik. Each one of us, inside of each of us, is a hidden lamed vavnik. Not lamed tes malachos. I mean, a lamed vav tzaddikim, right? There's a hidden tzaddik inside of each of us. But most of us, tragically, never get to know him. We never give him the opportunity to emerge. We never give him the moment to come out. And he remains hidden. V'hanistaros laHashem Elokeinu. The tzaddik nistra bosa inside of each of us, that is known to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tragically, v'haniglos lanu ulevanenu. Ad olam. Sometimes the only version of ourselves that we get to know is the nigla, is the revealed version. Sometimes we only get to know the version that stares us back in the mirror. We only get to know the nigla for 120 years, and we never take the time to get to know the nistar. But don't worry, because even if you don't know your nistar, HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows your nistar. HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows your tzaddik nistar. But if we could somehow reach within ourselves to find our tzaddik nistar, our hidden tzaddik, then we could live a life of la'asos, as called divrei haTorah hazos. Can you imagine what we could accomplish if we would find the courage to look inside, stop being ordinary, stop being nigla, and find our inner tzaddik? It's the last Shabbos of the year. Last Shabbos of the year. We're going into Rosh Hashanah, a brand new beginning. And in brand new beginnings, you can make of yourself whatever you want. Just because I've lived my life for the last 40 plus years as the nigla version of myself, the revealed version, does not mean that this year can't be the year where I find my tzaddik nistar. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has been looking at that tzaddik nistar every day since I've been on this earth. Halavai, we should be zocheh to find him. We should be zocheh to actualize him. We should be zocheh to uncover the hidden righteousness that we possess. And in that schus, may this be a year, may this be a lifetime of la'asos as called divrei haTorah hazos.